Good evening. This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. Welcome back in our partner enablement video series. In today's video, we will be going to talk about how to design and integrate on-premise Active Directory with Azure AD. Now, in this video, we're going to talk about what is Azure AD is and what is Active Directory Domain Service, what are the use case, and then we're going to walk you through with the reference architecture, what are the key components, and then we're going to walk you through with the recommendations like the monitoring security. And at the end, I will be going to walk you through with some of the considerations like scalability, availability, and manageability. At the end, I will be going to show you a quick demo how AD Connect can help you to replicate or how you can basically connect your on-premise Active Directory with the Azure AD. Well, Azure Active Directory is a cloud-based multi-tenant directory and identity service. And as you see in the left side is in the reference architecture where you can integrate your on-premise Active Directory with Azure AD, and it's provide you cloud-based authentication, and from there you can have it integrated with any kind of SaaS solution like Office 365, SAP, ServiceNow, GoToMeeting, Google, AWS as well. At the right side, you can see like there is Active Directory Domain Service. Active Directory Domain Service store the information about the object on the network and make this information easy for administrator and user to find and use. Active Directory use a structured data store as the basic for a logical hierarchy organization for a directory information. So both of them have their own mechanisms, or both of them they have own workflow, where Active Directory domain survey use the structured data store and use a hierarchy to store the information about the organization. That's where the Azure Active Directory is a kind of a straightforward service which provide us the identity service from where we can have our users and group created and can integrate it with any kind of third party SaaS service. Use cases, yes. Web application deployed in Azure that provide the access to the remote user who belongs to your organization. Implementing a self-service capabilities for end users such as resetting passwords and dedicated the group management that's required the Active Directory premium edition. Architecture in which on-premise network and the application in Azure Virtual Network are not connecting using a VPN tunnel or Express circuit. So these are the some of the requirement, or I can say the use case where you can have your Active Directory domain service integrated with Azure AD. Any kind of cells and capabilities, resetting a password, dedicated user group management, or if your application is running on a Azure VM and you want to have your capabilities to run the identities, or you want to have a same username and a password for the on-premise user, but you haven't have any connectivity with that subscription, that's where you can have your Azure Active uh, Directory getting connected with on-premise Active Directory domain service, and from there all the users can redirect it to the or replicate it to the Azure AD. Well, this is the reference architecture. You can see at the left side you have the on-premise network where you have a domain controller, and then you have an Active Directory Connect Sync, which is also called Azure AD Connect Sync, and with that one it's allowing you to replicate the users to Azure Active Directory tenant, and from there you can have them integrated with your applications, and the application can use the Active Directory tenant, or the users which is there in the Active Directory tenant to provide the sign in for the end user. Well, what are the key components? Yes, Azure Active Directory tenant, instance of Active Directory created by organization. It act as a directory service for a cloud application by storing the objects copied from the on-premise Active Directory and provide the identity service. In Azure, whenever you create a subscription first time, by default that's create your Active Directory domain, Active Directory tenant, not a domain, Active Directory tenant, and within that Active Directory tenant you can have your multiple subscription running. Even though if your customer is already having your Office 365 subscription, using in their organization for email and team services or OneDrive, you can also use that Active Directory tenant to be get extended to the Azure, and then from there you can have users replicated from your on-premise, right? Subnet where the VMs has been deployed for web application. On-premise Active Directory domain service, which is basically a directory service and identity service. The Active Directory domain service directory can be synced with Azure Active Directory to enable it to authenticate with on-premise users. Active Directory connecting server is one of the biggest component in this kind of architecture, which use or which allow us to replicate our all the identities which is there on the on-premise to the Azure cloud. At the same way, it's also allow us to replicate the password hash from on-premise user to the Azure Active Directory. So in this case, what is the main thing is like whenever a user is modified, whenever a password is changed, or whenever a new Azure user is added in on-premise Active Directory, Azure AD Connect Sync is a server which is going to replicate all of those changes to the Azure Active Directory. Security recommendations. Yep, there are a few security recommendations which you need to take care. Password management, right? So with Azure AD Premium Editions, there is an option called a password write back, which allow us to replicate the password from Azure AD to on-premise. By default, if you don't enable this feature, what happen? User will be only able to reset their password from the on-premise Active Directories or on-premise applications or or directly from the system in which they have which joined in the domain. But with the password reset, sorry, the password write back, what is going to be happen? A user can reset their password on Azure Active Directory or any of the cloud service which is integrated with Azure Active Directory, and from there password can be stored or can be written back to the on-premise Active Directory as well. Second, protect on-premise application that can be accessed externally. Use the Active Directory application proxy to provide the control access to the on-premise web application for external user through the Azure AD. Only user that have a valid credential in your Azure Active Directory have a permission to use the application. So let's say your application is the externally accessible and anyone can use that one, right? So we have a feature called Azure Active Directory application proxy, which we can integrate it with web applications or the web servers on on-premise, and through which what is going to be happen, only the users who have the access with the valid credentials will only be able to use or access that application. Third, actively monitor the Active Directory sync for suspicious activity. Consider using the Active Directory P2 additions, which include Active Directory identity protection service, right? So continuously monitor your all the logs for Active Directory, I mean Azure Active Directory, and from there you would be able to see if you find anything wrong or anything suspicious. And at the same time, you can also use Azure AD P2 edition, which provide us the identity protection, and we can have our conditional access policies or the other policies and the sign-in policies or the password policies or MFA policies to be created on the Azure Active Directory, which can be enforced on the user, and we can put the security or the control on top of that, top of the Azure Active Directory to the users. Monitoring. Yes, there are a few monitoring considerations which you need to think about it. Uh, Active Directory Connect install an agent that capable information about the sync. That agent is basically what is going to be happen, that the Azure Active Directory Connect installer agent which capture the information about all the syncs or operations whatever is going to be there, and it can basically what is do it submit that data to the Azure, and we can view that information from the Azure portal, and from where we can see and monitor the health. Second, to monitor the health of Active Directory domain service or the directory services from Azure, install the AD Connect Health from the for ADDS agent on the machine within the on-premise domain, and use the Azure Active Directory Connect Health blade to in Azure portal to monitor the health, right? So with the same way, you can have the AD Connect Health for ADDS agent is installed on the domain controller, and you can monitor the health directly from the same blade or from the same location from where you can manage the you can monitor the health of Azure AD Connect. Third, install the Azure AD Connect Health for ADFS agent to monitor the health of services running on the on-premise, and use the Active Directory uh, Connect Health Blade in portal to monitor the ADFS services. So you can have your agent installed on the Active Directory domain service. You can have your health agent installed on the AD Connect server, or you can have your agent installed on the ADFS server, and you would be able to monitor all of these three services from a single blade from the Azure portal. And I would be going to show you in the demo where and how you can do that. Scalabilities. Yep, there are few scalability considerations is there. So Active Directory service is the geo distributed and run in a multiple data center across the world with the automated failure. If any data center or any location is unavailable, Azure AD ensure that your directory data is available from the instance in at least two more global region, right? So this is a geo distributed, and it's highly available across the multiple locations. So if one region is goes down, another region will be available to provide you the Active Directory domain, sorry, Active Directory services. In the same way, Active Directory support the scalability based on the replica with a single primary replica that handle the write operation plus a multiple read only secondary replica which is there, right? And Azure AD transparently, I mean Azure AD automatically redirects attempt write to made against the secondary replica to the primary and provide the eventually consistency. All changes made to the primary replica are propagated to the secondary replica, and this is a completely happen in the backend. That's something you cannot see it. So whatever the changes you are doing it in a one location or the primary replica will be going to automatically replicate to the another replica. Any changes, any modification, any configuration will be getting replicated to the another replica set of Azure AD. Well, let's talk about the manageability considerations. So, yep, there is the two aspects of managing the Azure AD. First, administrating the Azure AD in cloud. Second, managing the Azure Active Directory connecting server. So these are the two things which you need to manage in terms of manageability, right? Azure AD provide the following options to manage the domain and directory. First, Azure Active Directory PowerShell module, which we can use to manage the Azure AD using the PowerShell script. And then we have a Azure AD management blade in the portal, which provide us the interactive management view of directory and enable us to control and configure the most aspects of Azure AD. Well, let's quickly jump to the demo. So in the demo, I would be going to show you how your Azure Active Directory can replicate from on-premise to Azure Cloud. So I have already a domain controller, and in this domain controller, what I can do, I can this domain controller is already getting replicated to the Azure AD using the AD Connect. And if I go ahead and create a user like tester1, oops, looks like a password is not matching. And as soon as I created a username, what is going to be happen, like this is my AD Connect server where I have installed the AD Connect tool, and I can here I can run the sync, all the syncs I can run. And as soon as the sync is run, it will be going to show me uh, sorry, I need to run a full sync actually. Let me go ahead and run the full sync, and as soon as a sync is performed, you would be able to see the user has been replicated. And and you will be able to see some of the users has been showing as added. And now at the same time, let me go ahead and run the full sync for Cloud AD as well, and it will be going to replicate that user to the Azure AD. It's going to take a little time for completing the sync, and you can see it's adding the new users there. And if you click on here, you would be able to see what is the user has been added there. So it's a test user which has been added there, which I eventually have created earlier. And you need to wait for some time, and once that has been done, you can go on the portal, you can refresh it, and you would be able to see there is a new user has been added, which is a test. The test 01 has been not added in this thing, that will be going to added in later on, but there is a one more user which is there in the Active Directory, and that has been successfully replicated to the Azure AD. Now you will see, is that directory synced enabled or not. If the user is synced from the on-premise Active Directory, you will be see that has been replicated from the directory sync, and it will be going to show you yes here, right? That's how you can replicate user, and that's how you can build your on-premise. You can connect your on-premise AD with the Azure AD. At the same time, you have a at the same time you have a this dedicated blade to manage your Active Directory sync, or to see all the errors are related to the Active Directory sync. So what you need to go, you need to go into the AD Connect here, and once you do that and you click on you will be able to see what exactly is happening with your AD sync. So any kind of AD syncs, what are the status when the last sync is happened and is the password async is enabled, we would be able to see that information. At the same time, if I click on manage the AD connect AD sync, we would be able to see what are the syncs and what are the what is happening here. And at the same time, we would be able to review the logs, what exactly is happening and what are the issues, or if there are any issues is there, we would be able to see that here. A part of that, I would be able to see a few more informations, like if there are any sync issues or anything related to that. That's something I would be able to do it by using the AD Connect Health. I just need to go on this one, and as soon as click to show me if there is a any error related to the sync, that something would be available here. And then if I want to go with the sync service, that's something I can see by going into the sync service, although this is will not be allow me to see that. Well, that's it in the demo. I hope you like this video. If you like, please click on like and subscribe for more upcoming videos, and feel free to reach us if you have any questions. Thank you.